There are two major types of functions that we deal with. So I'm going to call this one types of functions. And we're going to need a little bit of math language to make this work, but we're going to have continuous functions and we're going to have discrete functions. So a continuous function and a discrete function, these deal with domain restrictions. So we need to be able to know what is a domain. If I've got f of x equals 3x squared plus 2, for example, I can plug in any number I want at all for x. So x is my input variable, and the domain of a function is what am I allowed to plug in. Now if I'm just doing straight up math, then my domain a lot of times is going to work out to be anything. I can plug in any number. I can plug in x equals 2, 3, 5, 7, negative 12, 0.5, it doesn't matter. What if I have a real-world interpretation? Maybe I have g of x is equal to 4x. So again, it looks like just any other function, but then I'm also told g of x represents the number of legs on x dogs. Well, now there's a question, right? I can't put in x equals 3 1/4. That doesn't make sense. There's not like a it doesn't work, right? I can't put in x equals negative 2 because how many legs are there on negative 2 dogs? It doesn't work. So this thing would have a domain restriction. My domain here would be whole numbers and it would have to be whole numbers that are greater than or equal to 0. I can't do negative numbers, and fractions and such don't work. So this one is actually going to be an example of a discrete function. This one is going to be a continuous function. A continuous function then is one where I can put in, for any two numbers that I can plug into the function, I can plug in another in between. So if I can plug in x equals 1 and I can plug in x equals 2, then I can plug in a value in between, x equals 1.5. Or between, if I can plug in 1, if I can plug in x equals 1 and that's fine, and I can plug in x equals 1.1 and that's fine, then I have to be able to plug in a number between these. So like x equals 1.05 has to be able to work also. That's a continuous function. A discrete function says I have values that I can plug in and I have values that I can't plug in. So maybe it's whole numbers where I can plug in x equals 1, I can plug in x equals 2, but I can't plug in something between them. That's what we're doing with a discrete function.